So yeah, I'm doing just another short video after the one I just did. I'm not showing all my dev builds again. I guess it was because why not? It was also because I did a slight change. So I changed just pause the video as I'm going through all my builds once again. I'm showing my melee dude, and then they're like in almost 3-minute segments, and then I'll show my melee dude, and then I'll show my, I don't know how to say him, Superman guy, my no cooldown build. He's definitely my favorite, even though he's not my most OP. It's obviously Seismic Commander, because like Seismic Commander is always the most OP in a dev. But I'm trying to figure out a fourth build. Really want to find a fourth build that I love for the dev to add to the mix. I have like 4. I think I have like 4 plus builds on the other classes. It's like dev might be the only one that I'm down one. But of course, it's because there's just no variety on the Devastator. Like Seismic Commander, Anomaly Power, Earthquake just has gigantic monopoly on devs. They have the least variety. And that's partially because they also don't even get a gun skill. Like if maybe they had bleed rounds, gravity rounds, something cool that's unique to the dev, it'd be better, but they don't. I don't know if that was an oversight that they did or something. But yeah. Because I looked into like potential gun builds and potential tank versions I'd prefer of gun builds, and I didn't like either. I wouldn't like them or they suck. Like maybe you can make them do like crazy damage, like crazed gunman pistol build with trigger twitch, one shots arbiters, but then you're insanely frail. Everywhere else in the I can just see certain missions that I would hate even trying to play that build for my style, and having to land your dumb combos that I don't want to even be bothered to do. Like I want ultimate casual builds. So I don't like that. Also, personal preference too, because it's just like they don't even feel cool to use in my view, because it's just, again, the dev doesn't even get a gun skill that makes shooting guns feel even worthwhile. So you're just hearing that terrible popcorn sound of the gun the whole time. It's fine on my other builds where they actually don't use their guns often anyway. The guns are more for props and for activating mods, while I just spam my skills on a lot of builds. Anyway, this is my, melee. Not melee. My Seismic Commander, who's the best, even though he has the least mods. Now I'm switching to my melee build. But yeah, the only thing I can really add on my Seismic dude you saw is probably add Grand Blast for Tremor, just to increase the radius of it slightly in the future. And then Virulent Compound on my Waistcloth. Specifically, like, Legs of the Cannonball with Virulent Compound is the only thing I can add anyway to help his boss damage at least, a little bit at least. Now, my melee build here is mostly done. I've said before, the only real thing to add on him, or change rather, is to get increased duration for reflect bullets over extra time on my boots, but I really don't think that's possible. I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure you can't even roll that mod on boots. I've said before, like, you can't actually get every mod in the game as part of the RNG loot pool for every kind of armor in the game. Like, boots will only drop with certain mods ever in stores or loot. Same for waistcloth. It's also why waistcloths, like pants, are just the worst. Like, every build you've ever seen that's missing a mod that you've ever seen on my channel, it's always the pants, because it's just 2 reasons. One is because you don't get them as loot as often. It's clearly not equal. You get way more helmets, you get way more armor chest pieces. You do not get waistcloths, hardly ever, comparatively. And then their loot pool is terrible. Like, they just do not have a great loot pool. There's so many trash mods in their loot pool, and only a few good ones, and then you have to obviously make sure one of those good ones is good for your specific build you're aiming for, which is just not the case in some of my builds. I'm just forced to not even have a 15 mod build, which ordinarily I'm fine, because it's like, well, I mean, it just shows this game is designed as every looter shooter with just the DPS meta in mind as usual, and I hate it, and I never want to be bothered with it, because I want to play how I prefer. And I mean, on that end, this game is not nearly as bad as like Division 2 on that front. Division, which just got even worse with the escalation mode, as I've ranted before. Like, talk about hating tank players, especially hating them in Division. And also other looter shooters. First Descendant was the same when I did play it. Honestly, it's because the developers just ruin every single looter shooter game. For my style, at least, they always and forever will only favor speedrun DPS, frail glass cannon builds. Like, you're playing COD. I hate it because it's like, this is just my personal preference, but I'll just state it outright. I'd rather play Call of Duty. I'd rather go play Halo. If I wanted a frail dude, you know, hard difficulty, having a, quote, challenge and reflexes and all that crap, I'd go play one of those games, and I'd play the campaign, and I'd have fun having a challenge and dying a lot until I finally beat the stupid boss I was, you know, having a challenge with, and then I'd feel good about it, and I would never play it again. That's how it was before, that's how it would be now. If I'm doing a looter shooter grind, I want a power fantasy. I want, like period. I want, in the end game, I still want to find, like, the challenge should be trying to figure out a good build. But once you actually do figure out a good build and you grind for that good build, it should and absolutely trivialize the end game, because you should feel that power fantasy then. Division 2 hates that. So many looter shooters hate that. Warframe hates that. Tried Warframe, like, again, because they always add so much loot is locked behind these really annoying bosses with really annoying mechanics that you have to fight over and over and over again. That's the other thing. It's one thing to have a forced challenge in the game, but when you make it a forced grind too, I hate that so much, because it's like, when I overcome a challenge, I feel good, but then I don't want to have to keep overcoming the exact same challenge over and over again. If it's going to be repetitive grinding, I want it to be easy. Sorry, I'm not the get good player. So that's a rant I had to do. I guess I had to do it because I'm spending, 8 minutes showing these builds. So I guess I was just going to use, like, these 8 minutes here to just rant about why I do these kind of builds and why I prefer that and why I hate the meta usually in looter shooters, because I hate just how they're designed. In the old games, like when I was in college and high school and I was playing, like, World of Warcraft, I didn't play as much. I played other games. I just use World of Warcraft as just an example, even though I wasn't actually one who played it a ton. But it's an example for that kind of game too back then. Like, in the really old times, when developers did like tanks, did like other things besides pure damage in their open world, in their, like, loot-based games and grind-based games, and you actually could design this super tank that could just be completely invincible and casually power through everything. I'm pretty sure the only reason you can in this game is because it's dead and the developers aren't ruining it right now.
Ready, set, showtime.
Outrider detected.
Cullen, the bandit
Access
leader's
granted.
taken care of. Your pass is clear. Where'd these bandits come from anyway?
They were insurgents. Defected to our side months ago. But they...
Jenna, I found an oasis. It's something else. Almost like the anomaly never touched this spot.
I see your dirty face hide behind your collar. What is done in vain? Truth is hard to swallow, so you break. God, justify the way you live a lie, live a lie, live a lie. And you take your time, and you do your crime. Will you mean your
Perhaps they didn't. activated. Synchronizing. Please enter your username. Username accepted.
Think I'll keep quiet all the same. This place, it must have been drawing them all here, answering some call to join. How many of Enoch's creatures are being lured by this place? Called by Father. Shit. What if this is where all the big guys were on the move to?